Growing up, my family would go on road trips every Christmas holiday from Lagos to our hometown in Adamawa State, Nigeria. Inspired by this experience are 25 staple recipes and heartfelt stories just for you. This is Sally's 25 Days of Christmas. This chin is soft and crunchy at the same time, flavorful, easy to snack on, has a long shelf life, and you will definitely enjoy during the Christmas holidays. So let's get right into the video. For our ingredients, we'll be needing all-purpose flour, white granulated sugar, powdered milk flavor. This is optional. You can use vanilla extract or whatever flavor of your choice. Butter, baking powder, nutmeg powder, an egg, and some water. The full list of ingredients will be in the description box below. So into our bowl, we're going to sift in our flour. Make sure you sift your flour. I always mention this in all of my videos and all of my recipes. You need to sift your flour to remove any shaft. So we're going to add in our baking powder and our milk flavor powder and our nutmeg powder as well, and we're going to sift all of this all together into our mixing bowl. This is basically the nutmeg powder that has settled at the bottom, right? The ones that are not finely ground. You set that aside. So next we are going to add in our white granulated sugar. I'm just going to give this a quick mix. We're going to be mixing with our hands, guys, so just going to give this a quick mix. In case you're wondering why I have a glove on one hand, I cut myself, and that is why I'm only working with one hand that doesn't have a glove. When you're working with a dough, it gets messy if you're using a glove, right? So next we're going to add in our butter, and then we're just going to press this in all together nicely. So you're just going to keep on doing this until it's well incorporated. So now that that is done, we are going to add in our egg, and then we're going to add in our water as well. You can substitute the water for milk, evaporated milk or powdered milk dissolved in water, whatever works for you. But if you use water as well, trust me, the chin is still going to bang. So here we are just going to mix all of this together until we form a dough. Do not be tempted to add more water. The quantity here is just right, okay? Follow the recipe. Don't be tempted to add anything. Just mix everything in and you'll realize that your dough will come together nicely, okay? A quick backstory of this chin. Whenever my family travels home for Christmas, to Adamawa State, there's almost always a wedding to attend in Adamawa, and whoever is getting married, I don't know if it's a staple thing in the north for northern weddings, you would always be served some chin as guests. And the amazing thing about it is they always served their chin with fried beef. Like, that is what I don't understand till this day. They would serve you chin and then with some fried beef right in the center. Some weddings, they would package it in transparent nylons and just hand them over to the guests, while some, they would dish it out on plates and have them served on the table where the guests would be seated. Like, that is just one thing I found really fun, and here I'm just sharing with you a nice chin recipe to enjoy with your loved ones. Not necessarily with fried beef, but you can definitely enjoy this. So after mixing our dough, we are going to set this aside to rest for just like 5 to 10 minutes. So for our utensils, we are needing a little bit of flour to dust our work surface. We're needing a pizza cutter. You can use a knife as well. And then we're using a rolling pin and a bench scraper. Okay, so now that our dough has rested well, I'm going to sprinkle some flour on my work surface. This is to help prevent our chin dough from sticking to the work surface because it can get pretty sticky. Okay, so here I'm just going to sprinkle on enough flour to cover my work surface, and then I'm going to roll out my dough. So here I'm just going to place my dough and then I like to still sprinkle a little bit of flour on top of my dough. You can do that on your rolling pin as well. This is basically just going to help prevent any form of sticking. Okay, and then we are going to roll this out to a very fine flat sheet. The shape doesn't matter at this point. Just make sure you roll it out completely such that it is not thick. You're not going to roll this out like you're rolling out fondant. Okay, you're not going to make this thick. Roll it out to be thin. Roll it out to be really thin. That way, when you're frying your chin chin, it cooks faster, it cooks more evenly, and you get that crunch much more satisfyingly, if there's any word like that. Okay, your crunch is like easy and satisfying. You do not want chunky and heavy chin chin cuts. You want it to be as thin as possible, because mind you, we put some baking powder while we were making our chin chin. So that baking powder is going to serve as a raising agent, which is going to help puff up our chin chin. That is why it is both soft and crunchy at the same time, because of the baking powder that we added. Okay, so you're just going to roll this out to be thin, not paper thin, but thin enough. Okay, I'm going to be showing you the thickness in the video later on in the video. So just roll this out till you are okay and satisfied with how flat it is and how much you've rolled it out, and then we are going to proceed to cutting. Always re-add or re-sprinkle some flour on your chin chin dough if you notice that it's still, it needs a little bit of flour. Maybe your rolling pin is beginning to stick as you're rolling it. Just feel free to sprinkle little bits of flour. The flour that I reserved doesn't necessarily mean that we have to empty that entire container. You just need some flour to be able to roll out your chin chin dough. So once we are done with this, we are going to start cutting out our shapes. Now for the chin chin shape, you can really just freestyle and do anything you like. You can be creative. You can use a crinkle cutter. You can use any kind of cutter of your choice, any shape and size of your choice. The major thing is just to ensure that your cuts are even. You want to make sure that all your cuts are even, because you're going to be frying this in batches, and you don't want a situation whereby some of the chin chin cooks faster than the rest, and then some of them end up getting burned, some of them are undercooked. That way you're going to have very uneven chin chin. So you want to make sure that you cut everything as even as possible. You want to make sure that everything is the same size. You may not get perfectly the exact size, especially if you're using a pizza cutter as this, or you're using a knife. You have to be doing strip by strip. You may not perfectly get that exact size. However, they should be close enough. You just need them to be close enough. Okay, so for me, I'm doing the standard cube kind of shape for my chin chin. So what you're going to do for this is you're going to make horizontal and vertical lines so that you can have your little cubes and boxes of chin chin, and that way everything works out fine. Or you can go in with some diagonal cuts to have like a diagonal shaped chin chin. You can really just have fun with your cutting, or you can actually skip rolling out your chin chin and then just pick a little bit of chin chin dough and roll it out into balls. Some people do that. Personally, I don't like that because oftentimes it's not fried all the way through, but some people do like that. So whatever works for you, really, you can do just that. Here I had overcut some parts of my chin chin strip, so I'm just going back to make some cuts and make sure that it's even with the rest. Okay, after doing this, I'm going to go in with my vertical cut. So now that is done, I am going in with my vertical cuts. So we're basically just repeating the same process as we did with our horizontal cuts, and we're just going to make sure that we make this as even as possible. Like I mentioned earlier, you do not want a situation whereby some of your chin chin are overcooked, some are undercooked, some are even burned. Okay, you do not want that. So try as much as possible to make even cut. Take your time really. Cooking is a labor of love, guys. Anything cooking, baking, it is a labor of love. You have to be patient and you have to be careful so that you do not make any mistakes, okay? Now that we are done, we are going to use our bench scraper to scrape this off of our work surface. Yes, we applied some flour, but you see, chin dough is really sticky, you guys, so you really do need some flour. So what we are doing here basically is we're sprinkling some flour, and then we're using our bench scraper to scrape off the chin from the work table. So the flour is going to help us separate our chin cuts into bits. It's going to help us make sure that it doesn't stick together, so that when we are frying it, we do not have joint cuts of chin as you fry. You do not want to have chunks as you fry. Everything is just going to be separated and you are going to have individual bites, okay? So that is the essence of this step that I'm doing here. So after doing this, I am going to preheat some oil in my pan, vegetable oil of course. I'm going to preheat for some minutes on low heat. This is the thickness of the chin. As you can see, it's not too thick, it's not too thin, it's just right. So you do not want it to be too thick. And this is what I meant when I said some people would like roll their chin into balls, you know, like this, and then they just fry, almost like you're making peanuts. You do not have to roll your chin dough into a sheet, okay? So now I'm just preheating my oil in a wide saucepan. I recommend that you use a wide saucepan for this. I also recommend that you fry on medium low heat. Please do not fry on medium high, do not fry on high. Your chin will just get burned and it will not be cooked on the inside, so just turn brown quickly and burn. So what you're going to do is you're just going to drop a piece of chin into your oil to make sure that you know when the oil is hot enough before you pour in your first batch of chin to fry. So the moment it floats to the top like this and it's bubbling, you know that your oil is hot enough. You do not want to put your chin into oil that is not hot enough to fry, okay? It's just going to soak oil and be soggy. You don't want that. So now that this is done, I am going to start frying. Now mind you, I recommend you use a saucepan or a wide pan. You can use a wok as well to fry your chin. This is because we have an egg in our chin dough, and what that does is it causes your oil to foam because of the egg that is in our dough. It causes the oil to foam, and so once your oil starts foaming, it will bubble up. Don't be scared, don't be worried. It's totally normal, okay? It's because of the egg in our chin dough. It's going to bubble up and almost pour or spill over. So if you use a regular pot or deep fryer to fry, most likely it will bubble up and pour easily. But I noticed that when you use a wide saucepan or something that has a wide mouth to fry the chin, even while it bubbles up, it doesn't bubble up to the point where it spills over. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you would see what I mean later on in the video. So as you can see, all our chin have floated up to the surface of our oil and they are beginning to fry. Now this is a crucial place where you have to always stir. You have to continually and regularly stir. This is because you want them to fry evenly on both sides. You don't want a situation whereby one side of your chin is golden brown and the other side is looking raw or white, okay? So you're going to have to be stirring from time to time, not every second, just like every 3 minutes. You know, stir like this. You're just basically going to be doing this left and right. Just shake them around so that they fry evenly on all sides. Every 3 minutes you do this, and then up until your chin is golden brown. The browning of your chin really depends on you. As you fry and as you stir, you'll be able to tell when it's cooked because they will be lighter. You know, it won't be as heavy as when it's still in its raw dough form, and so it will become lighter when you fry, you'll be able to tell that okay, it's cooked all the way through. It doesn't have to be until it's deep golden brown before it's cooked. Chin chin can be cooked when it's light golden brown. That is why you have to fry on medium low heat so that it cooks low and slow, okay, and it doesn't burn. Here you can see that our oil has started to foam because of the eggs, like I mentioned earlier, and our chin chin is nowhere near being cooked. It's still very much raw, okay, so we are still going to be stirring and frying until it turns golden brown. Here you can see that our chin chin is already starting to get brown. At this point, if you like your chin chin this color, you can take one out and taste it to be sure that it has that crunch, meaning that it's cooked all the way through. If it doesn't have that crunch, then you have to leave it to still fry a bit, okay? But at this point, you can take out your chin chin if you like your brown chin chin this shade. I recommend that you leave it to fry a little bit more, you know, because it's better safe than sorry. And so here, once it starts to bubble this way, you know that your chin chin is already cooked. Like, it's cooked, there's nothing that is left to fry again. So at this point, I am going to take out my chin chin. And yeah, my family likes really brown chin chin, you know, so I made this for my family, and I always fry my chin chin to be this brown. However, if you do not like yours to be this brown, you can take it out earlier, okay? So here I'm just going to strain and transfer it to my strainer to collect any excess oil. You have to strain this, okay? Anything that is deep fried needs to be strained. And so here I'm just packing all of the rest of the chin chin in my pan, and we're going to repeat this process, and you know, till we fry all of our chin chin. So I'm going to show you the next batch of chin chin so that you can really see to what extent your oil can bubble, like I mentioned earlier, because of the egg that is in our recipe. And so I do not want you guys to be alarmed or concerned, okay? It's something that happens when it comes to making chin chin. So here you notice that the bubbling of the oil is significantly more than the previous. This is why I recommended that you use a wide pan to fry, right? Because your oil will bubble up, okay? It will bubble up, and it can bubble up and spill over. But here you can see that for some reason it's not just coming up. If you notice that your oil is coming up too much, if it's bubbling up too much, then you can just do this. Use the back of your serrated spoon or whatever it is you're using to fry, and then just, you know, pat it down all around it, and that would help reduce the bubbling. So you're just going to repeat that process and fry till everything is completed and completely fried. So here our chin chin is ready. I like to spread mine on a tray to cool down completely before transferring it into my storage containers. This snack has a good shelf life. You can store this in your container for over a month and it will still be fresh and crunchy. Just make sure it's an airtight container, and you can enjoy this at your leisure while you're watching the movie, just when you need something to snack on. Like I said, in the north we enjoy this with some fried beef. So here I have some fried beef with my chin chin, and I'm just going to enjoy this. Thank you so much for watching. Send this video to your loved ones as well. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in my next video. Have a beautiful Christmas.